How would you describe motherhood in 3 words?
In 3 words? A blessing, challenging, beautiful. It's like a beautiful, challenging blessing. You know what I mean? I think it's the hardest job anybody could ever have, is to be a parent in this life. Hi, British Vogue. I am Jennifer Lopez, and I am here with Judy Robles, who I play in my new film, Unstoppable. The story of Anthony Robles, a wrestler who was born with one leg and overcomes the odds, along with his mother, Judy Robles, and the rest of his family, and their story.
What were the similarities between our lives and characters that impacted how you played this role?
I think the most important thing when we first talked was that we were both moms. That part of it, I think, was the basis of this role. The relationship between you and Anthony really, for me, informed and became the heart and the soul of the film. Being a mom and knowing what it is to want to give the best to your children and put forward your best face for them all the time, but also be struggling as a woman and in relationships and in life and with your own dreams and your own aspirations and what that means and what that feels like. I think for me was the biggest thing. Right?
I think that when we first spoke, that was something that did resonate with me because you have so much love for your own kids that you understood my love for mine.
Yeah.
So that meant a lot.
Absolutely. What made it exciting as an actor for me to play is, kind of talking to Anthony and your kids and them saying, my mom was the best mom. She's always happy and always making everything fun and joyful and all of that. And then talking to you and saying, this was really hard. I felt like this in the marriage. I felt sometimes like this with the kids. And all of those things that you gave me, to me, I was like, okay, there's so much going on here and I understood it. I mean, as a mom, you always want to put your best foot forward for your kids. You want to lift them up. That doesn't stop you from being a human being who struggles. What is the most difficult scene in Unstoppable for you to watch?
Ooh, I think the parts with my ex. Truthfully, not the moments where it was the abusive parts. It was the moment in the kitchen where I reveal a tattoo when my son walks in. That was hard because that was messy, but that was me. And I wanted to keep trying. I knew I shouldn't have been in that moment. I knew that he didn't deserve another chance. I knew that he wasn't going to change. And my son walks in and sees me laughing and happy, and it broke his heart. That was the hardest scene for me to watch because there was so much reality.
It's a complicated moment in life that makes the story so triumphant. To see you sitting here today, because we all make mistakes and we all do things that we wish we hadn't when it comes to our kids. And I think that every mom in the world can look at that and see that you can come out the other end and become literally Dr. Judy. And I understand why it's difficult for you. And thank you for allowing us to do that, because I feel that very deeply. Because I've been in the same spot at times, like, maybe I shouldn't be giving this person a chance. You know what I mean? Or maybe we should end this right now. And then you go back. And I don't think there's a woman on earth who hasn't been in that position, or even men.
What was the most memorable scene you shot for the film and why?
Probably, the unstoppable scene, right? Where I tell him, you are unstoppable. Because I feel like that is something that you really made your son feel. And the reason you felt that and made him feel that is because he inspired you. And to me, that was the key to your guys' relationship. It's like you having him at such a young age, at 16, and him being born with only one leg, and the two of you having to grow up, and you having to grow up so quickly, right? And become a mom, and how your main job was to love him and inspire him and make him believe in himself. And in the beautiful way and poetic way that life is, he wound up doing the same for you. As a mother, how did you cope with watching your child compete in such a physically demanding and at times painful sport?
Anthony has always been competitive since he was little, so it wasn't a big deal to me. But then him, alongside someone across from the mat who's wanting to hurt him, who's wanting to take him down, that was really hard.
But also, I remember you telling me when you first saw his very first match, and that he wanted to wrestle, and you saw him kind of like put his crutches down and hop out onto the mat. You were like, oh my God. And this other kid, like you said, on the other side of the mat, ready to kind of like take him down.
Yeah, he had no experience and he was the only one there, and I was so proud of him.
Yes, and that's what I was gonna say. Instead of like being like totally scared, which I'm sure you were.
Oh, terrified all the time.
Yeah, terrified, but you were like, he's really doing this. Like right there was that kind of spirit, not worrying about what you don't have, but what you do have, and going out there and being unafraid to kind of compete in life.
Yeah, and he had spent so much time with people staring at him and looking at him for missing a leg.
Yeah.
But then he was brave enough to hop to the center of the mat without his crutches, without something he'd leaned on, and then be the focal point of a match all by himself. The film is about overcoming challenges. Mm-hmm. What can you share with our audience about how to deal with seemingly impossible challenges?
Wow, you get hit with so many things in life. And I think, like Anthony said many times, we're always wrestling with something. I think the way I overcome things is not by thinking of them as happening to me, but happening for me. Mm-hmm. And what is the lesson that needs to be learned in the moment? When I think of things in that way and stay in kind of a more positive mindset about it, it's easier to kind of embrace it for the lesson that it is. Because that's really what our hardships are in life. What am I supposed to learn here? There are no coincidences. This is not happening, just randomly. It's happening for a reason. What can I learn? And how can I come out the other side better, stronger, more knowledgeable, and kind of evolve and grow from this point?
That's a great perspective. And I think that this film allowed me to see my life, the mistakes that I made, because it's not like from one day to the next, there's this challenge and then you have to overcome, or you do, and you're like, oh, I'm way better the next day. Like it was very real, because I was stuck in that marriage for 20 years and I went back and forth for 20 years. And like, what did I learn from that? I'm still learning from that, like all of those scars that I had. So the perspective you have is like dead on, because it's like, okay, yes, you deal with the hurt, but you can't dwell and sit in there. No. You have to move forward.
Or the regret, right? You can't. You have to kind of go, that's where I was at that time. There was things that I needed. There was a part of my soul that needed to grow. Yeah. And it grew in its perfect timing, in its perfect way, when I was ready. That's part of the journey, I think, of life and of healing those parts of ourselves that we don't understand sometimes. Yeah. Thank you so much, British Vogue, for having us. Bye.